Hello all, welcome to my DIY channel. What you're looking at is the left rear window regulator for a 1995 Mercedes-Benz E320 station wagon. I went to put the window down one day and heard some horrible noise, feared the worst. Potentially the regulator had failed. Fortunately it hadn't. What in fact had happened was these rubber mounts had separated. And that one in fact was broken as well. I just glued it together just for a quick visual. I was fortunate enough to find the part number. Mercedes apparently still has these available, although they're not easy to find. They're about $12 each. And the way they're discontinuing parts, just like YouTube is discontinuing any type of conservative talk, I fear in not too long you won't be able to get most of the parts you need for these older cars. In any case, I got lucky and I found a suitable part. I believe it's suitable from McMaster Carr. You can see it's an M6 shank. They're a little bit larger in diameter, a little bit thicker. I don't think that's going to present any kind of a problem. There's plenty of clear space in there. The one stud is a little longer than the other on the original part. So what I decided to do was just screw on an M6 die from my cheap Harbor Freight 60-piece kit, and I cut that off with an angle grinder and backed off the die, cleaned up the buggered threads, and then chamfered it a little bit and then rechased the threads with the die. And the end result, in the process of installing the window regulator with the new mounts, I did end up with a slight interference with this particular mount here. It's catching just due to the angle. So it's much easier just to take it off, install it, and then just expose that thread, screw it back in, and then put it in place. Just for reference, the motor goes in first. You push it all the way up against the hinge side of the door, and then the mass will go through the opening right in the corner, and then you just rotate it clockwise into the correct position, and the stud should come through the holes. Although I did notice my bracket was bent a little bit more than I thought. I expected to be able to put it in place, and then once everything was screwed down, the bolts would pull it back into shape, but that wasn't quite the case, so I had to take it out on the bench and hand straighten it a little bit. Now I think we're ready to go. And now I'm just going to reinstall this top mount and slide it over into place, put the studs through the holes. So there is a sequence to doing this. I had the window taped all the way in the up position. It's now down. First thing you want to do is just leave the window taped in the up position. Get the top of the regulator bracket. This tab has to go down into this slot, and then put the bolt in it and leave it a little bit loose. Don't hook up the bottom of the regulator. You want to lower the window, take the tape off, let it down. Then you need to rotate the bracket. I went left, and then slide the nylon carrier into the tab on the bottom of the window. Once that's done, and then the bottom left corner, have to pull it out slightly left and then push it right so that that tab on the bracket goes into the door. And then, since my bracket was bent a little bit, I had to struggle with it a tad to get the studs to line up and pop through the holes. However, once that's done and everything's lined up, the rest of it's pretty easy. After I got it in the car and got it all hooked up, it did work, but I could hear the cable binding on the pulley inside. I think when it came loose, it went at such a severe angle the cable jumped out of the tracks. So these are Torx. I pulled the cover off, and there's a nylon pulley in there on a gear. There is some pretension on the cable, but it's not too bad. Pulled it off. Fortunately, the cable was not frayed, it was just kinked, so I worked the kink with the needle nose pliers for 10-15 minutes and got it straightened out pretty good so it would lay in the track properly. Wound it back up, put it back in, and put the cover on. So hopefully this is the last time. And there's the finished job. Not sure if you can hear it. That cable is still making a little bit of noise in there. I think it's just the remnants of that small kink that I wasn't able to get perfect. But it's all lubed up and it's working good. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with it. But I guess if the regulator breaks, then I'll just have to replace it.